Warm greetings from JR School of Architecture. We welcome you all for the DECODE series. Today, we have the session 4 on the topic Cherishing Our Legacy by architect Kamalahasan Ramaswamy. I would like to introduce my dean, Professor Anita. I would welcome her to give the welcome address.
Thank you, Professor Kavita. Very warm evening to all who have gathered here. Thank you for partnering us in this series. We are proud to be doing the series from JR School of Architecture. We intend to bring you a lot of interesting topics, and today's topic is about conservation. And we have an award-winning conservationist, Kamalahasan Ramaswamy. So he had been kind enough to and agreed to present to you some of his award-winning works. Thank you very much, Kamalahasan sir, for joining us in such short notice. I also call upon Dr. Satish Kumar, our mentor. I thank him for being part of this event and being the win-win at our...
I take great privilege in introducing the speaker of today. Architect Kamalahasan Ramaswamy is the founder and principal architect of Cuboid, a firm in Coimbatore. After his BR from Madras University, he pursued his Master of Arts in International Architectural Regeneration and Development, Oxford Brookes University, UK in 2016, and he interned with the International Committee on Monuments and Sites, ICMOS, USA 2001. He has more than 20 years of expressive experience in architecture and impressive award-winning portfolio of interesting projects across India. He was instrumental in publishing book on architectural heritage of Pondicherry in English and Tamil. He received the first prize at national level from HUTCO, Government of India, for the category Conservation of Heritage in 2004. His strategy plan for Evora, a World Heritage City in Portugal, was selected for the Santander Project Grant and was presented to the City Council officials for the real-time implementation in 2016. He is empaneled with the Department of Government of India and private devasthanams to document and conserve the historic temples in Tamil Nadu. He was a part of the committee and designed a massive installation for the Kumbhabhishekam of Big Temple Tanjavur, a UNESCO Living Heritage Site in 2020. We welcome you for the session, sir. The stage is yours for the presentation. Thank you.
My thanks to Anita and Satish for inviting. I'm very happy. I'm always happy to connect with the students because you are the future of the nation. The main thing I gave the topic as cherishing the legacy is that we are all quite sort of keen on development, on progress and all those things. At the same time, we should also be aware of our rich past, the heritage, the history, the legacy and all those things. Because like Victor Hugo once said, the long memories create great civilizations. That's what he said. So we have a very long memory. So we should just count on that, and we should strive to make a bigger contribution. And also, the deeper the root, the bigger the tree can grow. So we, as deep as we grow into our history and the past, we can take some important clues and inspirations, and we can use that for building our future. We can establish a continuity. Right now, there is a little bit of a discontinuity because for 300, 400 years, we have been ruled by other influences. And so there has been a big gap between our, the evolution of how we evolved and how we are now. So we're just trying to connect the dots. So I will share a few things. What good legacy we had, I will just share. So I have this presentation. This is what we can learn from the past is what was the main part of this presentation. Of course, because of the short notice, I'm just going to use a few slides from another presentation. So if you see our legacy, what we can take, what we can cherish, what is very astonishing, those things I will present. So we have 2,500 years of building tradition, at least in the physical structure. Even before that, it was there, but with concrete evidence, we definitely have this from the ruins. and monuments, temples, and then we have the ancient texts. So it's very interesting that I'm now writing a book on the history of Tamil Nadu architecture and all. I mean, so I find that there are very, very interesting treatises and texts, very old texts, which are now lost, but these texts are mentioned in other texts. For example, the Mayamata and Manasara, they mention 18 scriptures for sculpture and architecture. We only have 5 or 6 of them. So there was a very good knowledge system that had been established. After the knowledge system, we have the skill set also to execute all these temples. So if you see this scripture here on the left side of page, where you have all the local terms for the features of a temple element. So no, that's very interesting, because all these 5 years you would probably be studying the Western architecture. So we should also understand that we had very good, local architecture. So, and you see this micro level detailing and very good workmanship. These are all the result of very good knowledge and skill set that our, previous generations had. And in terms of planning and management, you see that a temple, if it has to be built from the top down, we always imagine that buildings are built from the ground to the top. Whereas if you see this building, the Kailashnath temple in Ellora, it was built from the top down, for which you need real meticulous planning. And also the rock forts and the rock ensembles, which are built from the rock itself. The rocks are hewn, the steps are made, and then those stones are made for the structure. It's all a very integrated way of building. And you see this beautiful temple along the lake and the background of the rock in Badami. And you see this Rameshwaram temple corridor, which is about 1.4 kilometers long, but it's laid to a great precision without any big cranes and instruments and total station digital survey and all those things. It is to perfection. And if you see the woodwork, so the woodwork, our carpentry skills are very, very, astonishing, particularly in places like Kerala, Maharashtra, Pune, in Tamil Nadu, in Chettinad, in Kumbakonam, Tanjore areas, with the astonishing carpentry skills. You see this chariot, and they also had a system of, taking the trees, choosing the trees, the trunk, which part of the tree should be used for the column, which part should be used for the beam. All these things were very well known to the carpenters, traditional carpenters, the properties of the trees and all. And you see the beautiful timber craft here. And when it comes to the flooring, we now regularly use, vitrified tiles and ceramic tiles, Italian marble and all. But you see all these local flooring from the broken chips, the mosaic. On the right side, you see a lime cement floor, then terracotta floor, combination of marble and granite, red oxide floor with the threading for the grips. And you see this beautiful mosaic floor below with marble chips, where you see the reflection of the sofa. That is the level of craftsmanship. We don't get to see these kind of finishes nowadays. And masonry, you see the beauty of the brickwork. It is to perfect level. When you plaster, it gets the perfect level. Even before the plastering, the brickwork is laid to perfection. Because nowadays what happens, the brickwork is little sloppy, because they think anyway you're going to plaster. And the plaster has some undulations, because that person thinks you will anyway be doing the putty and you'll be doing the painting. So the perfection, little by little, it gets diluted. But here, if you see from the base, from the foundation, the perfection is maintained. And you see the brick corbels and all, which is very, very fine. Even the brick has to be customized. And then the plaster, which is the final finish. See, for these whole old heritage buildings, they didn't rely on the paint, the color, and all those things. The plaster itself was the final finish. It was so good. It was so smooth. So the plastering itself becomes the finish of the building. You don't have to do putty and painting after that. So that was the level of, perfection. It is something like you don't have to do any makeup at all. As such, you are very beautiful. It's like that. And you see the tiles. So these are country tiles, Mangalore tiles, and for which also you need quite a good precision. And for this steep slopes, it's all made of terracotta, which is a local material. The potters will be there on the outskirts of the villages and all. They will make all these span tiles and bring it, and then it will be erected on the site. And you see these finishing touches. And the end ornamentation, once the house is nicely done, then they add the final touches, like you garnish. After you make a nice dish, you garnish it with some curry leaves and pepper and all those things. Like that, you see these beautiful end ornament elements which are done after the building is finished, which gives the final completion and the beauty to the building. So you see these terracotta dolls, the elephant trunk. From both sides it will look similar, and the eaves board and the copper sunshades and all. So these are a few things. So what I just want to give a message with this presentation is that we should respect the past. We should keep the roots and branch out. We should strive to create good examples so that our buildings become the heritage buildings for the next generation. We talk about the heritage buildings now because 100, 200 years back, or even 1,000 years before the stone temples, they were all created with such passion and such good knowledge set and skill that today they are standing as heritage buildings. So we should also create some good examples, which down the line in the next 200 years or so, they should be looked upon as something unique. We have done something for this generation, little advanced, little good in terms of the skill, and which the next generation can cherish. So this is what I wanted to tell. And real progress should lead us to do right things. It should be an integrated smart growth. We should not ignore the past and embrace the future, where we should probably be a bridge between both. We should link both the past and the future and establish a continuity while we grow. So there's this presentation. And what I am doing for a little bit is that we are involved in many heritage buildings. We are trying to restore some of the heritage buildings. We have done some temples. We have done water tanks, old water tanks. We have done some heritage buildings in Chennai, Madurai, Nagapattinam. In Chettinad, we are doing a lot of buildings. In Ooty, Kunur, we are restoring some of the heritage buildings. We are not only restoring, because of the lifestyle changes, there are a lot of additions, alterations, retrofit, and new systems in electrical, plumbing, air conditioning. All these things are also incorporated into these heritage buildings, and the comfort level is achieved while keeping the originality. And I also have a Facebook page just to create awareness. It is called the Chettinad Architectural Heritage. We are also involved in skill training, because for heritage restoration and all, you need high levels of skill in terms of stone, cement, lime plaster, timber craft and all. So for that, we are working with some artisans and craftsmen for the skill development part of it. So this is what we keep doing. So and just because some students are here, I want to show some of the work which, as students, if you can just engage. So this is my portfolio, which runs into many pages. So I just want to show some of my old hand drawings so that may be interesting for you. So you see, these are all some of my old hand drawings, which was done as part of the thesis and part of the documentation. So these are all axonometric drawings to understand how a fort gets seals the rock pass. And this is a hand drawing of the bridge in US. Okay, and these are some documentation of the Chettinad houses. And this is the Ghats of the Banaras, which I did for a book. And these are various these are my travel and all. So I'm just going fast. Okay, so what kind of restoration we are doing is like this. If you see this dilapidated building, so we just try to bring back to use. It's called repurposing, retrofit. There are various names now being given. We used to call it as adaptive reuse, but nowadays they call it as repurposing, retrofitting, all those things. So if you see, this building was abandoned, so it is now converted into a heritage hotel. It's quite an expensive hotel now. So these kind of heritage buildings have been restored. If you see this courtyard, it's completely overgrown with trees and all. It's been restored as a heritage hotel. And these are some of the documentations that we have done. This is a Jameen house in Pollachi, which we extended with and this is a British colonial building in Ooty, which we are converting it into a heritage hotel. This is a temple complex, which we are working on. And this is a Chettinad house, which has been converted into a hotel. These are some of the architecture projects. I'm just skipping this. I want to show something else. Okay, these are the awareness generation. So I also like to write and reach out to the public in the local language, in Tamil, So architecture is not a very elite profession. You should be able to communicate in the local terms and in the local language, because only in India architecture is combined with engineering and technology, whereas in the abroad countries architecture is combined with arts and humanities, social studies and humanities actually. So architecture is a social realm, so you have to be dealing with the local people. So if you are a Kerala student, you should be very well versed in Malayalam. If you are an Andhra student, you should be able to converse with the contractors and the masons and the helpers in Andhra, And for your information, the most creative kids in the world are from Japan and Korea. And the research, what they found is, it is because they learn in their local language, in their mother tongue, and their basics are very strong. That is what has been. So even though you pursue architecture the 5 years with all the Western influences, you should be very keen with your local language and context. So these are the skill training that we did for the site engineers, and these are some of the hand drawings. And see, you have all these digital tools now. You can make good use of it. So one of the advantages of the technology, you see, there was a half demolished gate. I mean, only 23% was there. So we created a model for the full gate, and based on that model, the Mestri was able to construct the full gate here. So you see the three pictures: half demolished, the 3D model, and the real picture. So these are some of the books that we got to publish, and I'm very fond of sketching and doing illustration. So these are some of my sketches. Whenever I'm little upset or so, I do sketches to revive myself. And these are all the photographs. And I learned photography from a professional photographer, so I keep doing it. Not much nowadays, but yes. And so these are the other things. So yes. All right. That's what I wanted to say. And if you have any questions or anything, maybe in future we will do more, but I leave it to the organizers now if you have any questions or anything.
So we do have a question in the chat box.
Okay.
What's the scope of heritage conservation in India? How different is it from abroad?
In India, you do have a lot of scope, because we now the government, central government as well as the state government, both are very keen, and a lot of efforts are being made through the government departments. So there is a good scope in terms of heritage. How it is different from abroad is, I would say that in abroad, they preserved their old monuments very well. And when it comes to conservation, they are little open for creative additions, alterations to the building. Whereas in India, we lost most of our monuments. Therefore, now they're being very strict, and they are not allowing new additions, alterations and all. And to the point, they're very rigid. You see, then the Vacha Kudumi Saracha Motan Solangla, and the Madri, previously there was no rule. So heritage building was tampered in any way. Now the awareness has come, and there is a blanket rule: don't do anything to heritage building. So in the rend extreme poirichu, whereas abroad la vandu நீங்க வந்து அடிஷன் ஆல்ட்ரேஷன்லாம் நல்ல ஜஸ்டிஃபிகேஷனை கொடுத்துட்டு நீங்க பண்ணிக்கலாம். ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு காத்திக் சர்ச் இருக்கு, அதுக்குள்ள நீங்க ரொம்ப ஒரு மாடர்ன் இன்டர்வென்ஷன் பண்ணலாம். தி ஆர்கிடெக்ட்ஸ் கேன் மேக், provided he satisfies the norms, he gives the right justification. அந்த சர்ச்சை வந்து எதுவும் இடைஞ்சல் இல்லாம இருக்க மாதிரி பண்ண முடியும். நம்ம ஊர்ல அப்படி இல்லை. நம்ம வந்து இப்போ பழைய தான், இப்போ கோவில்னா நீங்க கல் மாதிரியே தான் அடிஷன் பண்ணணும், அந்த மாதிரி சிலது இருக்கு. So still, as always, we are a little behind. Next philosophical ஆர் இந்த தியரட்டிக்கல் இதெல்லாம் நெக்ஸ்ட் லெவல் போயிட்டாங்க. நாம இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா அவங்க பின்னாடி போயிட்டு இருக்கோம்.
So with respect to conservation of materials, do you find any challenges as such, sir? Because most of the materials which were used in the previous historical, ages is not present. So when you go for a conservation,
அதாவது இப்ப மெட்டீரியல் சேலஞ்சஸ் இருக்கு. இப்ப ஸ்டோன் வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஓரளவு பரவாயில்ல. ஸ்டோன் வந்து ரொம்ப வருஷத்துக்கு இருக்கும். அதுலயுமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா கோஸ்டல் ஏரியால இருக்க ஸ்டோன், இப்போ திருவாடான அந்த சைட்லாம் சில ஸ்டோன் எல்லாம் இருக்குல்ல, அதெல்லாம் வந்து இட் கெட்ஸ் எரோடட், அதெல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் அரிச்சிட மாதிரி இருக்குது. ஸோ அதை எப்படி ஸ்ட்ரெங்தன் பண்றது என்னங்கிற ஒரு சேலஞ்ச் இருக்கு. அதே மாதிரி வுட் ஒர்க் எல்லாம் பாத்தீங்கன்னா டெர்மைட்ஸ் வந்திருக்கும், ராட்டன் ஆயிருக்கும், அதெல்லாம் எடுத்துட்டு ரீப்ளேஸ் பண்ணணும். முக்கியமா இந்த ரைசிங் டேம்ப்னால ரொம்ப ப்ராப்ளம் வரும். கீழே இருந்து தண்ணி வந்துச்சுன்னா அந்த வாலோடைய பேஸ் எல்லாம் வீக் ஆகும், ஸ்டோன் அரிச்சிட்டு. இப்ப நாங்க சென்னையில் ஒரு ஸ்டேட் பேங்க் ஆஃப் இந்தியா பில்டிங் ஒன்று பண்றோம், பெரிய பில்டிங், எக்ஸ்போஸ் பிரிக் பில்டிங். அதுல நிறைய எக்ஸ்போஸ் பிரிக்ஸ் வந்து அரிச்சிருச்சு. ஸோ அந்த பிரிக் எல்லாம் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா ஸ்கூப் அவுட் பண்ணி திரும்ப ரீப்ளேஸ் பண்றோம். தேர் ஆர் டெக்னிக்ஸ் டு டூ தட். இட்ஸ் பிட் எக்ஸ்பென்சிவ். And that cost is because we are.
And with respect to the artisans and the skilled labor also, how is it, sir? Like, are you finding it challenging? Because I hope many of the people are not practicing the olden technology nowadays. They are moving on to the newer technologies and techniques. So,
correct. Tough.
In coastal areas, they use, especially where the seawater is eroding the plaster. The olden times they used shell only for the lime. And now that is that knowledge is kind of dwindled down.
Knowledge is seashell lime is banned. இப்ப அதெல்லாம் பண்ணக்கூடாது. ஸோ அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய இதுவும் ரூலும் போட்டுருச்சு கவர்மெண்ட். அதுவும் நமக்கு ஒரு சிக்கல். இப்ப எப்படி ரிவர் சாண்ட் எடுக்கக்கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க இல்லையா, அது மாதிரி சீஷல் லைம்லாம் எடுக்கக்கூடாது. ஸோ லைம் பிளாஸ்டருக்கு நமக்கு இதுவும் கொஞ்சம் டஃபா இருக்குது, லைம் சோர்ஸும் கொஞ்சம் டஃபா இருக்கு.
So அந்த ஹெரிடேஜ் பில்டிங்ஸை டச் பண்ண முடிய மாட்டேங்குது இல்லீங்களா?
பண்ணலாம், we can do it. As I said, it will be expensive. ஆந்திரால இருந்து சோர்ஸ் பண்ணோம் லைம், இல்லாட்டி பாண்டிச்சேரியில இருந்து எடுத்து வரணும், அந்த மாதிரி எடுத்து வந்து பண்றோம். So we'll do, பார்க்கலாம். So
thank you very much to the entire audience. Thank you for being here to share all these wonderful insights that we got from Kamalahasan Ramaswamy. We are having these sessions on weekdays, Monday to Friday, every day from 6:30 to 7. So you could also join us to hear the rest of our.
Absolutely. Okay. All the best. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, students. All the best to all of you. And
thank you, sir.
Come out in flying colors. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, Anita. Bye, Kavita. Bye, bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, Satish.
Thank you, participants.